Hey, folks, welcome to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network podcast. I'm your host, Louis Carlin. We're heard right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Collision Tour 2021 is in full throttle. And the latest episode I just finished watching had three matches. It was headlined. The main event was Fred Rosser versus Hikuleo in a no disqualification match. But let's get going. Let's discuss the show. Match number one, Young Lion Alex Coughlin versus Bateman. This match was okay. We had an exchange of holds to start. Coughlin was working the arm of Bateman early on, and eventually there was some chest chopping. They went chop for chop for a bit. Then Bateman hit a big boot to the face. But Coughlin came back. Coughlin came back and began working the arm again of Bateman. Bateman eventually took control of the match with some strikes and suplexes. Alex Coughlin actually came back with a nice shoulder tackle, hit some power moves on Bateman, but eventually Bateman wins it with a strike to the back of the head, and then hits a tombstone pile driver on Coughlin to get the 1-2-3. Bateman is victorious in match one. This match was okay. Nothing special here. Nothing special. Conklin has talents, but he seemed to lack a little bit of fire in this match. This match never really seemed to get going. Was okay. It was an okay opening match. But as I said, Bateman hits the tombstone pile driver, gets the win over Conklin as expected. But not a match I'm going to jump on Twitter and tweet about. So match was okay. Okay, match number two, Danny Limelight and JR Kratos versus Karl Fredericks and Brody King. This was a little bit of a better match. All four brawled to begin the match. Limelight and Fredericks eventually were in the ring to start. Kratos comes in and has Fredericks in trouble. Limelight and Limelight and Kratos double team Fredericks. Kratos hits some nice hard shots on Fredericks. Fredericks tries to fight back, only to get destroyed by a Kratos clothesline. Kratos nearly took his head off. Limelight had a few kicks to Fredericks as well. Fredericks desperately needed to make a tag, hits a spine buster, and eventually tags in King. King comes in, and him and Kratos go at it, which was exciting watching the two big boys going at it. King eventually cleans house and lifts up Danny Limelight, throws him to the outside onto Kratos. Then we get some great action to follow. Eventually, we have Limelight and Fredericks in the ring as they go at it until Fredericks eventually hits his finishing move, the Manifest Destiny, for the win. And Karl Fredericks and Brody King are victorious. This was a very, very good match that flowed really, really well. Kratos has such devastating power. That clothesline on Fredericks was just incredible. King and Kratos exchanging shots was so exciting. Limelight and Fredericks are great young talents, and that was definitely on display here. Fredericks they're definitely working Fredericks in to be the next challenger for the New Japan Pro Wrestling openweight title, whoever that may be, either Tom Lawler or Chris Dickinson. But I do believe Fredericks is next in line for that. But this match was great. Just a really, really good match from start to finish. Danny Limelight is so talented, as is Karl Fredericks, as is JR Kratos and Brody King. So we had four really talented wrestlers in this ring, and they worked really, really well together. And what we got was a really good second bout, much better than the first, much better. This match kind of made up for the first match, but the main event really made up for everything, because we had Hikuleo and Fred Rosser in a no disqualification match, and this match was freaking wild. This match was freaking wild. Fred Rosser goes right out Hikuleo from the start. Hikuleo power slams Rosser. They exchange strikes and elbows. Hikuleo takes the match to the outside of the ring. They brawl outside the ring for a while. Hikuleo picks up a chair, tries to hit Rosser, but misses. Hikuleo gets a table, but Rosser picks up a bucket, throws a bucket at Hikuleo and hits him right in the back of the head. Then he starts landing some huge elbow strikes to Hikuleo. They eventually take the fight to the back and then eventually take it to the outside into the parking lot, and they end up in the back of a U-Haul truck. And they brawl the truck for a while. They brawl the truck for a while, which is really good. Rosser actually hits a leg drop on Hikuleo in the truck, and it looks like he hurt his back when he hit that leg drop. But they brawled in the truck for a while, as I said, and eventually they fight back into the building. Rosser actually they set up the table, and Rosser tries to bulldog Hikuleo through the table, but he misses the table, and they kind of hit the edge of the table. The table doesn't break, and it was a botch spot, and it looked could have been a little dangerous, but luckily it seemed like both wrestlers were okay after that. It was a bit of a scary moment, there. He missed the table. Rosser did seem hurt. He had trouble getting back into the ring. Could have been the leg drop that he did in the truck as well. But Rosser eventually ends it with a double knee gut buster and a knee strike to Hikuleo and gets the 1-2-3. So Fred Rosser wins the main event in this no disqualification match against Hikuleo. This was just an absolutely terrific main event. What a fantastic brawl between both men. It was everything I expected and more. I knew it was going to be intense, and it was like triple the intensity that I thought it was going to be. This was just so damn good. I absolutely loved every moment of this main event. It was just a straight out street fight, and it was just absolutely great. Absolutely loved it. Both guys worked so hard. Great back and forth action. This was the first no DQ match in New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong history. I believe they said that. I don't think they said New Japan Pro Wrestling history. I believe they said New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong history. This was the first no disqualification match. And they were mentioning, Kevin Kelly was mentioning that we might not see another one for a while. But this was fantastic. Just an absolutely fantastic main event. Highly recommended. This is a match that I would go on Twitter to tweet about. Okay. This was great. Just a terrific main event. And Fred Rosser, Hikuleo, both two very, very talented wrestlers, and they showcase it here. And in the end, Fred Rosser was victorious in this no disqualification match. And I believe this would be the end of the feud. I know they've been feuding for a while, but this should be the end of the feud between Fred Rosser and Hikuleo. All right. So on that note, I'm going to say, and actually before I go, next week, Collision 2021 main event, Tom Lawler defends the New Japan Pro Wrestling Openweight title against Chris Dickinson next week on New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, and I can't wait for that one. Okay, on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to me today. I'm Louis Karlin. This is the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network podcast. Until next time, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. And stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.